established pursuant to Section 519.13 of the Ohio Revised Code by the Anderson Township trustees to provide administrative relief to any person or entity adversely affected by the Anderson Township zoning resolution. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Here.
Mr. Sion?
Here.
Mr. Shekels?
Here.
Mr. Halpin?
Present.
Mr. Haber?
Here. Thank you for coming to this meeting of the Anderson Township Board of Zoning Appeals. Please be aware that this meeting is audio and videotaped and may be carried live on television. First, let me take an opportunity to outline our procedures. We do have one case tonight, so I'll be as brief as I can. A summary of the appeal is presented by staff, then the appellant will present its case. The board members may then ask questions of the appellant. After that, all persons supporting the appeal will be permitted to testify after being recognized by the chair. When those persons supporting the appeal are finished, those opposed to the appeal will then be permitted to testify and/or ask questions of the board after being recognized by the chair. So all persons here tonight wishing to testify, whether for or against an appeal, may only do so after being sworn in. So if you will, any of those who are going to be testifying, if you would, please stand. Raise your right hand and affirm, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. So when testifying, each person must come forward to the podium after being recognized, speak into the microphone, state their name, address, and any affiliation to the case. All persons testifying are going to be limited to 4 minutes unless we need additional time. Testimony is given to the board only. No comments or questions are to be directed to the appellant or anyone else in the audience. The board would appreciate new, non-repetitive evidence or questions. Should someone wish to show support of a previous testimony, they may do so by following the testimony procedures and stating their support. So are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, there's not.
No, they're not. Unless there's any objection by the members of the board, I will have the agenda approved by unanimous consent. Item number 2, approval of the minutes. Everybody's had an opportunity to read them, appreciate their having been published. Do I hear any objections or corrections to the minutes? And if not, do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Would you please call the roll?
Mr. Nye?
Abstain.
Mr. Sion?
Aye.
Mr. Shekels?
Abstain.
Mr. Halpin?
Aye.
Mr. Haber?
Aye. Thank you. So our case tonight is Case 8-2023 BZA, a variance request to allow an accessory structure detached garage for a property located on Markley Road. And I would request that staff would present their report.
Okay. So the applicant is Gary Wilson. He's the property owner. The location is 1169 Markley Road. It is Zone C residence, and there is a variance request to allow a 28-foot by 32-foot accessory structure, a garage, to be located in the rear yard area where accessory structures are not permitted to occupy more than 30% of the required rear yard per Article 5.2A7 of the Anderson Township zoning resolution. The accessory structure is 28 by 32 feet, which is a total of 896 square feet requested, where a maximum of 450 square feet is permitted. The site history: the house was constructed in 1955 and purchased by the current property owner, Gary Wilson, in November of 2016. Case history: in June of 1999, a zoning permit was issued for a pool, deck, and fence. The above-ground pool was 21 feet round, the deck size was 7 feet by 18 feet, and a 6-foot high privacy fence. In July of 2002, a zoning permit was issued for a deck, size 12 feet by 16 feet. There is no code enforcement for this property. This is a property map that shows to the east is Markley Road, to the south of the properties is Dunn Road, Dunn Drive, Dunn Road, and to the north, not shown in this map, is Beachmont Avenue. This is an aerial of the property. As you can see, to the north there is Beachmont, and then there is also a UDF station building. There is a Duke substation to the east, directly across from the applicant's house, and Dunn Road is to the south. This is a topography map. There's a slight downgrade going to the west. This is a larger area map showing a larger portion of the neighborhood. This photo shows the front of the applicant's house. This is a photo taken looking eastward towards the Duke substation. This is a photo of the backyard, and there is a fence in front of to get into their backyard. This is a picture of the backyard. You can see on the left there is the deck that needed the permit, and then you can also see there is a privacy fence, and the neighbors to the south of them, in the direct center of the photo, you can see they have an accessory structure. This is a photo looking to the north into the next door neighbor's property. That is their backyard. There is what looks like a temporary fence has been put up. Here's a better photo of the accessory structure that the neighbors on the south have, and the privacy fence separating the two. This is a photo of the UDF and the privacy fence that the neighbors to the north have in place to separate their yard from the UDF. And then here is a photo of the deck that needed the permit. This is a design and site plan for the accessory structure. This has some more information about the accessory structure, and it also includes an elevation of what the structure will look like. Staff finds and is of the opinion that the variance is not substantial. The accessory structure is proposed to be in the rear yard area subordinate to the main structure and is located 3 feet from all of the property lines. The total square footage allowed for an accessory structure on this property is 450 square feet, or 30% of the required rear yard area. However, the detached garage that has been applied for is nearly double the size at 896 square feet. The applicant would be allowed to have 2 or more detached separate garages, each at 450 square feet, which would not require a variance. Staff is of the opinion that the essential character of the neighborhood would not be altered and adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment as a result of the variance. Several other surrounding properties have similar detached garages in their rear yards, and these garages are either steel or aluminum siding and match the elevation of the proposed garage. Additionally, the applicant's rear yard is smaller than those of surrounding properties and the home on to the south on Markley Road. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. The property owner's predicament could be feasibly obviated through some method other than a variance. An addition would be permitted on the rear of the house. However, due to the placement of the deck, this may not be feasible. The property owner could also have, as previously stated, 2 or more accessory structures that amount to 450 square feet each. The spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed by granting the variance. While the accessory structure is approximately double what the zoning resolution allows, the structure would not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. The structure would be slightly visible from the front yard, however should not be detrimental to the surrounding neighbors. Per the applicant, the garage would allow him to store a vehicle, boat, and/or other belongings inside. These are the standards to be considered. If you have any other questions, staff is here to answer.
Any questions of staff in their report? Okay, thank you. Mr. Wilson, did I get that right? Yeah. Would you like to come up and to add any more information regarding your request for the variance?
Did I hear any oppositions before I?
We will allow you that opportunity if we hear any. Yeah, why don't you come on up and tell us what you're attempting to do?
I'm not real good at public speaking, even though there's not a whole lot of people here, but I just would like to put a garage in my backyard. I grew up out in the country. I've got 2 kids. I'd kind of like to start doing some more things with them. One of them would be get a boat. And just somewhere to store all of our miscellaneous stuff. So I really don't have much more to say than that.
Okay, thank you. If you would remain, anybody have any questions?
16 feet to the top, is that right?
Yes.
And then you've got a 6-foot fence already. How tall are the doors?
9 foot is the garage door, and then
I guess that wouldn't face any of the neighbors, though. That would probably face you.
that would face the back of my house.
Would you be installing this yourself?
No.
The one question I have, and I'm going to go to the drawing. This drawing right here, is this just half of the building?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. All right, any other questions for the appellant?
None.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
At this time, we open up the floor to anyone who wants to speak in favor of the variance request. Anyone want to testify in support? Okay, now we'll take testimony from those who oppose the appeal. Does anybody want to come up and oppose it? Sir, if you would come up to the microphone, state your name, address.
Okay. I'm Brian Hillsman, my wife Kathy Hillsman. We're the owners of 1175 Markley, the next door neighbor.
Okay, as you're facing the house from the street to the left?
The one between the old UDF and his house.
Oh, 11-7,
Right-
okay,
right
thank
there.
you.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
And when we received notice of this hearing, we contacted our lawyer. He told us we need to go to the hearing because we believe that the garage project would devalue our property. Reasons why we believe that it would, he works on vehicles at late hours, and there's a noise issue. He works on various home improvement projects, and I believe that activity would increase if he had a garage added to his property. I believe all that type of all that activity would increase. And he puts, after he works on vehicles, he puts them in the front yard for sale. And it's just that area is not zoned for that. And I don't want to really be redundant. He's asking to put up a garage that is twice the size that is allowed. And I don't, we have pictures of vehicles in his front yard, and we have family members that would be able to testify to the fact that they've seen cars in his front yard for sale after he has worked on them. And It's, without being, redundant and, other issues, it's more than half of his backyard would be this garage. It's only a 50-foot wide property. And this is, with being, and his garage that he's wanting to put up would be closest to our property line. So that's about it, I guess.
Okay. Questions from the board?
One of the things, these types of cases come up regularly where the request is to build a garage, an accessory structure that's bigger than what the resolution permits. And one of the factors that we have to contend with is that people could put two garages that are half this size in their, they're just absolutely permitted to do it. They don't have to ask for a variance at all. If he put two garages in his backyard right next to each other, would that be better or worse? Because if we denied the variance, he could just go do that. And it seems like you'd be sort of in the same spot. Do you see any distinction between the two? I know that's a weird wrinkle in the code, but it is there. I didn't put it there. Like, would you rather have two garages?
No.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on that?
He does have a, I don't know if it was brought up, but he has the same layout as we do. A driveway comes around the back of the house and there's a garage. When he moved in, he gutted out the house, cleaned it all out. So it was, when he first moved in, once upon a time, cleared for a vehicle to go into his garage under the house. So why he needs an additional parking, he's got a lot of blacktopped area already in the back where he can park his cars. Just my thought about it.
Do you understand what Mr. Nye is trying to tell you?
I would not be completely satisfied with either situation.
Okay.
I think it would be, in the long run, it would devalue our property. That's my understanding from talking to lawyers.
Okay.
Because it's not looking as residential as it once was, if that was to be added.
Okay. Anything else from the board?
And my understanding also, the property if you were facing his house, the property to the left on Markley and Dunn, that structure that he has, he don't have parking under his house like Mr. Wilson does his available. So that's why he had to have a detached garage. It's my understanding. I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
So it's not, doesn't seem to be a necessity that he has to have it.
Okay. Anything from the board? Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Wilson, would you like to come back up?
I guess I'd just like to clarify the car for sale in my yard. I've been there 7 years, and I had a truck that the transmission went out of, and I bought a new truck, and I did put that truck for sale in the front yard. So it was one vehicle that I owned. It's not as if I'm buying cars and fixing them up and reselling them. That was a one-time thing. And as far as the garage under the house, my truck would not even fit in there and the door's open. So That's the only thing I'd like to clarify.
Is the garage under the house currently being used as a garage, or did you convert the space?
No, it's being used as storage.
Okay.
Do you have any plans to put up any landscaping on the property line or anything like that between the garage and your neighbor, or any of your neighbors, I guess?
Yeah, if you went to the total backyard, I could kind of explain what my plan or eventual goal is. So looking at that picture there, the garage would be on the right backhand side, and there should be about 16 or 20 foot. I would like, we've been in discussion about that fence. I don't know whose it is. It was facing our property, or my property. So we made the assumption that it was their fence. The boards were falling down, so they took the fence down. It's just not been put back up. I put that snow fencing up because my dog went into their yard one time and it was a major issue. So, but I would like to eventually turn the space in between the garage and that garage just into a sitting space. It's not going to be really usable for a whole lot else. But I would like to eventually put a few bushes along that fence line and the remainder of the fence to the new structure to kind of give me some privacy there. But that's about it.
So on the property line with Mr. Hillsman, I think, that fence may or may not go back up, and you don't have any specific plans for.
I wouldn't mind.
From your perspective.
I wouldn't mind putting the fence back up. We have not had a great relationship for some reason. When I moved in, I mean, I've helped him multiple times when trees fall down or putting the vent back up on the side of the house. But for some reason, we just can't seem to get along. So. But I would love for the fence to go back up.
If the fence doesn't go back up, have you considered shielding the garage from their view with some bushes or something to that effect?
If they don't put the fence back up, I will be back at some point to see about putting the fence back in myself.
I understand. Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
No questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I respond to the fence situation.
Sure. Just make it germane to the issue at hand here, which is the accessory structure.
Like, well, my understanding is property line, I know where the marker is behind the fence. And my understanding is the property line is from the grass and the asphalt is basically the property line in that area. And so, like Mr. Wilson said, we had an understanding that the fence was already there when we moved in 20 years ago. It was knocked down, a 16-foot section by his kids running into it with little things that they ride on. It was witnessed, seeing my wife witnessed them hitting our fence with a bat. So 16-foot section from about where the bush is back was knocked down by his kids. And so he threw it over in our yard and said, "Are you going to do anything about this? There's nails, it's not safe, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, well, I don't have to have a fence. I thought if I was going to do it, I would rebuild the fence by taking it down and then rebuild it all new. I didn't care if there was a fence, so I took it down. That's part of the pile there is the old fence that was torn down. It's part of that eyesore. But then his dog, like he said, got in our backyard, relieving itself, and I was like, not having this. So I said, you need to fix a situation where you keep the dog, take your dog for a walk or have it fix the fence somehow. So he came up with that idea of that reddish orange net fence that he nailed to my post, and without permission of putting it on my post. And the gate that was blocking the driveway to keep the dog in from going up the driveway, there's a picture of it in there somewhere. That gate is hinged where it swings one side towards my fence, the other goes over to his house. And he put a post up to hang that fence, and the post is in my property, and I told him I would rather you not do that. I don't want you to do that. And he went ahead and did it after me saying that anyway. They put the post that the gate is hanging on in my property after telling him, no, we don't, it's my property. So, and then based on where the marker is in the back of the yard, going up, I believe actually some of the asphalt ends up being our property, the way it actually lays out. I've not had it officially surveyed, but just saying 50-foot properties, fine in the middle.
Okay,
That's about it.
thank you. Any questions before? No, thank you, sir. Anything else from the board before we close the public?
No.
Testimony, public hearing, public something or other?
Public portion.
How about a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion to close the public testimony, a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Who would like to start off our discussion here?
Well, for me, the determining factor is the fact that he could build 2 garages, maybe even 3 garages on there and not have to get a permit. He could basically put, the way I understand it, if he has space, he could put 3 garages right across there in a row.
Well, I think he's
Yeah.
able to fill up the entire backyard.
With
Whether it's
garages.
30%, 40%, or 30,
Right.
30, 30, 10.
And whether we like that fact or not, it's not our, that's what the rules are. So, that being said, I would approve this request based on the fact that this one building could easily be 2 buildings, and it wouldn't even have to come to us.
As a better solution.
Two buildings is clearly not a better solution.
Right. No, no,
Yeah,
I'm
right,
saying,
right.
right.
But it is permitted. What makes this case different from some of the other ones that we've had along this line is that this yard is much smaller. This is a much larger portion of the yard than some of the other ones. I mean, we've had other ones where we've approved structures that are double or triple the size of this, but they're still, a huge yard. I think there's one kind of farther down Salem, on the north side of the road that was maybe 2 years ago. Very big structure, but also very big yard. It was, over the 30%, but not quite as much. So I have a little hesitancy because of that. This is a big structure, and we're always concerned with whether it affects the character of the neighborhood. Now, that said, there are some other pretty big garages in this neighborhood. If we can find one of these other aerial shots, here. I mean, was it 7174 Dunn on the left has a pretty big garage. I think this one will be bigger, but pretty big. 1163 Markley, which is immediately south of this property, has a large garage. Those will be twinsies over there. Over on the right side, 1156 Markley has a big garage in the backyard. That's, probably a little less visible to the neighbors, but it's a big garage. You've got the commercial properties to the north, which are not garages, obviously, but In terms of character of the neighborhood, I'm not sure that this would have as much of effect as it would if those weren't there. So I think, I'm hesitating a little bit just because it is such a big portion of the yard, but he could absolutely put 2 of them. And I think in light of that, maybe it's not as substantial as I otherwise would have said. So I think I'm probably in favor of it, but this one gives me a little more heartburn than some of the other ones. It was a very long way of saying it could have been said very simply, I suppose.
Who else?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. Mr. Sion?
I'm okay with as well.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, with respect to case 8, 2023 BZA, I move that we grant the variance to allow a 28 by 32 foot accessory structure that's applied for here on the condition that it be consistent with the plans stamped February 9th, 2023, that construction be started within 1 year and completed within 2 years.
Second the motion.
We have a motion to grant the variance along with a second. Is there any final discussion? Will you please call the roll?
Aye.
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 Aye. When might the appellant be able to? Monday. Paperwork will be available on this coming Monday. Okay? Cool. Thank you. I guess we are at the number 5. Yep. Thank you. So we have basically made our decision, and what we are going to do now is journal our decision and make a final vote on it to approve the recording of it. You're more than willing to stay or not. We'll probably be done here in about, 5-10 minutes or so. You're welcome to stay or not. So thank you. Ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm good.
Good. Good.
Yep.
Word wants a comma after additional.
Is that what those blue lines are
Yeah,
for?
it's telling you punctuation.
Yeah. Voila.
Yep.
Good here.
Yep.
Supposed to be at the end of 5.
Yeah, where's the remainder that's,
Would not be altered, and having one structure is preferable to have two adjacent structures. At the very end, I'd
is it-
say.
you got the and and your
and
3 dots.
Having one structure would be preferable to having two adjacent structures. And actually, let's change preferable to consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution.
In lieu of 2 adjacent structures?
Yeah, maybe we put that in the wrong spot, hang on.
You put it on the wrong side of it.
How about, and having one structure would be more consistent.
More consistent. Okay.
Having one structure would be more consistent with the spirit and intent of the zoning resolution
Then 2 structures.
yeah. Change lieu to than.
And
And on the front of that
more
line
consistent.
would be more consistent.
Yep,
Everyone agree with that?
Yes.
yep.
That's good to me.
Motion?
Mr. Chair, with respect to case 8, 2023 BZA, I move that we approve and journalize our decision.
Second the motion.
We've got a motion and a second to approve and journal. Would you please read the roll? Thank you.
Aye.
Mr. Sine.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
Mr. Hubble.
Aye.
Mr. Hager.
Aye. Is there any other business? Anything set up yet for next month?
No, nothing yet.
Nothing yet? Okay. Okay. Move we adjourn. Thanks. We are done.